All right. Well, just want to give a quick update on where we stand with the current progress. The paving of the first block of Ashland was completed last week, as well as the intersection of Ashland and Howard. As we've mentioned a couple times, we're fully confident that we'll get that block open first here. We're hoping within the next, I would say, probably about 4 weeks or so before we get that all open back up. As we are just now starting sidewalk construction on that block, and I'll get into that a little bit more, as even after our progress meeting yesterday, we kind of have a plan on that sidewalk on how that will get done. But the other portion is that a lot of the electrical work for all the power that is going in was completed last week as well. I know we had a few issues with that crew hitting some water service lines. To be quite honest, last week was we had a lot of water service impacts last week. And it's funny, I've had to explain this to a few people, but really what it comes down to is that there's a lot of things under the ground that we have no record of and don't know that's there. So we keep running into things that are quote unquote a surprise, and we're dealing with those issues as we come along. So thankfully, there for us some minor issues. I know water shutoffs for some businesses are never great, but for us, there are issues that we can resolve in less than an hour. So it keeps us on schedule. And with that, I will also add, I think I was out a couple of weeks ago, and then last week just had some stuff going on, but I think this project is thankfully staying on schedule right now. I think we could all probably use some rain, but this project has been able to really get, I would say, somewhat ahead of where we thought it would be at this point because of the lack of rain that we've had. So that's good. So looking at what's happening this week, we're going to finish all of the utility work this week. That includes the rest of the water main that needs to be done on that block of Ashland between B and Buxton, as well as the storm sewer work that needs to be done on that block. So we should get that all wrapped up this week, possibly maybe a tad into next week on that last block there. But that's good, because then we can start getting the road put back together and then move to sidewalks. Pavers are scheduled to be placed on Ashland between First and Howard. That's on that first block there. And we're also going to start sidewalk construction on that block as well. Looking at sidewalk construction, they're starting the portion of sidewalk this week. They're going to do the 2 ramps closest to City Hall here, and then they'll do the south side next to the parking lot there that doesn't have any impact to pedestrians. So as far as the week or work that will go on this week, there'll be limited impact to the businesses. Once we get into next week, there's going to be a little bit more of an impact on that. And as I mentioned, I think next week and the week after, those 2 full weeks, weather permitting, they should be able to get the sidewalk construction on that block pretty much wrapped up and have the walkable paths back open. And then the other thing that we're working on this week is the yard hydrants on the intersection of Ashland and Buxton, which is the last intersection we needed to get the yard hydrants in. So it'll be probably the last time I talk about yard hydrants on any of these update meetings, because this will be 4 of 4 that have be put in. And then last thing, just to note that we will provide notices to all the impacted businesses on the sidewalks on Ashland between First and Howard in the next couple of weeks why that's going on. And then obviously, as we move to other phases, any impacted businesses will get notice regarding that. So looking at next week, again, we're just going to be focusing on a lot of the sidewalk construction on that first block. But I think one thing you'll start seeing next week is they're going to start getting their cut done on the road, Ashland between Buxton and possibly all the way up to B. What that does is that starts, they got to get that road at that particular elevation. So they cut the dirt to that elevation. Then they can start putting down the subgrade and the rock chambers for the pavers that all go in. And then once that all gets set, the paving crew moves back in. They'll start forming up the sidewalk, and we'll get main lines and curb lines all put in. So I would imagine The mainline paving on that middle block of Ashland could possibly happen at the tail end of next week, possibly into the week after. But that should be started, I would imagine, here in the next, I would say 10 to possibly 2 weeks, 10 days to possibly 2 weeks time. So that's going to be some of what you'll be seeing next week. And then in the future, again, just all the road paving that needs to be done, all the sidewalk installation that's going to be happening, and all the final work that needs to be done underneath the roads before those get paved. So, I mentioned this, I think right now we're still pretty well on schedule to get kind of our timeline there of that, late October, early November timeframe of getting everything wrapped up. The lack of rain sometimes scares me because I feel like we're due for a monsoon of a storm here just to get caught back up, which could affect it, a couple days here or there. But still, looking at the long range forecast, we seem to be avoiding a lot of big rains, which is good. At least to the point to where we get the roads in. Once the roads are in, it doesn't really matter how much it rains because we're able to get back to work on concrete almost immediately. So with that, if there's any questions from anybody, happy to answer them. Otherwise, as usual, feel free to reach out with any concerns. I know I've been getting some few businesses here and there just asking some questions about how everything's going to be laid out for RVTV, for example, things like that. And just we'll continue to answer those as they come in. So yes, any comments, concerns, criticisms, kudos, anything like that, we'll take them. We prefer the kudos, but I understand if they don't come.
Hey, this is Cammie. Thank you for updating us. I appreciate that. Speaking of RVTV, refresh my memory. Are they closing Salem?
Yes.
Okay. Just the from where to where, I guess I should say.
It would be from so if you start going east to west, where the alley is behind the parking lot. So the alley essentially between Krause's and where Roots is there, it'll be from that point all the way down to B Street.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure
Yep.
I was on the right page there. So, and that starts at 3:00 on the 9th, correct?
Yes.
Will it be closed prior to then?
Probably. That's something we've been working with our streets department and PD on over the last couple weeks here, is just trying to figure out exactly how we go about that. I think one of the concerns we have right now is at 3:00, if we can't get cars moved, how that's going to be an issue. So we're still working on the plan on how that looks out, where our city council application actually put an 11:00 kind of start time. We know we have to have Howard closed by 11 because WHO needs to move their equipment in between 11:30 and 12:30 and get that set up. But then how we kind of start shutting everything else down is still kind of getting talked through.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
And good job on the news last night. I happened to catch that.
Thank you. Brenda and I were talking about that a little bit this morning, and that was something I was not even aware that there was anything on Facebook regarding that until KCCI called and asked about it, and just
I know
the facts.
I hadn't seen it either, but I don't look at all that stuff. But I just got a blurb that said, "Oh, it's parking and space issues are going to be on the news." But it was a worthless article. I thought, there wasn't much substance. So.
Yeah, I
which
won't
is
say
good.
Much. This is recorded and I shouldn't say much, but anyways, yes, that is factual. And the only thing they messed up was they called me city manager, so I had to reach out to Lauren and have her correct that. So
I know I caught that too, but anyway, so I was glad it wasn't a big deal, so that was a good thing.
Appreciate that though.
You did a great job.
Thank you. All right, well, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and end this and see everybody next week. And like I said, if there's anything between now and next week, feel free to reach out.
Have a great week. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Bye.